Let's talk chain. Today we're going to discuss the chain. An integral part of your gas-powered bicycle setup. Without this little guy, you're not going real far. Without that little guy, you could be walking down the street instead of riding your bike. So I'm going to give you a suggestive maintenance tip on an optional way to lube your chain that's not a mess. It's how I do it. It's more of my personal opinion, but it's something to think about. All right, what we have here is I have a link tore apart so I can explain my personal theory. Now each one of the chain rollers spins. So when it goes over your sprocket, not only is the chain itself moving, but the rollers are moving each time it goes over a tooth of your sprocket. So you'll want some lube inside of the bushing. I don't know how well you can see this, but if you take the chain apart, you can see through the center, it has a little bushing. The chain roller spins with your finger. So when the chain is together, it looks like that. Now the part I am not fond of with motorcycle chain lube and some bike lubes, I mean there's a ton of them out there, so I don't really have any names to give you. That would take like 20 minutes of chain lubes. But anyway, some of them are sticky so they don't sling all over your tire. Some of them are made in case you're going into sand and dirt and all that. It gives you a barrier between your chain and the nasty stuff it's going to pick up, which is about the same for riding on the street. But what I personally do is use regular lubricant, because I do personally feel and have witnessed in old chains that I've lubed in the past and have plainly wore out that they were well lubed in the links. The spray lube's kind of thick, goes on kind of bubbly, coats the outside of the chain really well, and you have protection from link to steel or aluminum sprocket. You're covered in that aspect, but it doesn't seem to get down in the bushing the way I would like, because I want it all lubed. I want the outside lubed and I want the inner link of the bushing lubed. So I will show you a jazzy little tidbit on how I oil my chains, and it doesn't make a big mess with the spray. All right, it's time for the big reveal. What I use to lube my chains that is more than adequate, yet cost effective, and lasts a long time. And that product would be, simple as it may seem, O'Reilly's oil treatment. Doesn't have to be from O'Reilly's, they just had it on sale. It's going on a bike chain. We're not working on a Ferrari or anything here. But yep, Motor Honey STP oil treatment, O'Reilly's, whoever you have locally, seems to work lovely as a bike chain lubricant. Why do I say that? Well, I will show you. Not only is it a little thicker than just regular old motor oil, it seems to cling to the chain and not sling all over your world if you don't massively coat your chain, which is unnecessary. There is such thing as over lubricating and making a big mess. So anyway, my simple way of doing it is I picked up a regular old paintbrush at a craft store. I will take my trusty lid off of here, dip my trusty paintbrush from the craft store in there, wipe off the excess just like paint, and I will apply the lube to the links. As you can see, it slowly runs down in between the links and the rollers, because I want underneath each little roller lubricated, not just the outside that touches the sprocket. And you have to lube the lower side inside of the chain, because that is the part that is doing the work and touching the other metal parts of the sprocket. And then a quick drag down the outside. Alright, I hope you get the idea. To get the back side, I will just reach through the spokes. It's easier. Another little chain tidbit while we're on the chain topic. I personally use my master link as my starting point. That way I know when I get back to my master link, I have correctly and 100% lubed my entire chain. Now what I wanted to show everyone is just a friendly little FYI. If you'll notice, Mr. Master Link. Okay, you always want the mouth of your master link, or the opening, to be facing away from the sprocket. So when it rotates, when it touches the sprocket, it's always being pushed on the chain. If you face it the other way, sometimes when Mr. Master Link gets to the sprocket tooth, or up around through anywhere that it's traveling, they can get bumped off. And when that happens, you are stuck because your chain falls off. So my personal way of remembering it is I put the master link together on the top, and I always have the mouth going away from the engine. Closed part toward the engine, mouth toward the rear. That way when it goes up in the engine and gets to the sprocket on that, it is always being pushed on that way. Alright, that was just my little friendly FYI. But that's how I lube my chains. I also, when I am done doing the inner part of the chain, because that is the chain part doing the work, touching both sprockets, not so much the outside, but I do take what's left in my brush and give a quick coat to the outside, because you want a little protection from just the outside elements on your chain, and it doesn't hurt to have a little lube on your idler chain tensioner, and it will pick that up just from the little coat from the outside of your chain to keep it lubed and fresh. Alright, well, that is just my friendly suggestion on how to maintenance your chain and keep it properly lubed. There is no set mileage on lubing your chain. It's not like a car, change your oil every 3,000 miles. If you don't ride a whole lot, you don't have to lube your chain a whole lot. But if you're an avid rider, every day to work, to the store, just an everyday rider, I say keep your eye on it. The chain starts to look a little bit dry. Better to err on the safe side and take 2 minutes out of your day and lube up your chain, so you don't have any problems when you get away from your home or apartment or wherever it is you reside. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope that was a friendly suggestion to help some folks out with their chain. And stay tuned for yet our next exciting maintenance video.